Atoms, which are the building block of all matter, can be combined in different proportions to form compounds. Compounds can be classified as either ionic or covalent. In this video, we're going to learn how to decide whether a compound is ionic or whether it is covalent. All the atoms in the periodic table can be classified as either metals, which we will highlight in yellow, or nonmetals, which we'll highlight in green. Although technically nonmetals, noble gases are sort of in a category by themselves, so I'll highlight them in blue. These classifications are important because metals tend to make positive ions, whereas nonmetals tend to make negative ions. Thus, if I want to make a neutral compound from a metal and a nonmetal, I have to take the right amount of metal and the right amount of nonmetal so that the charges add to zero. These types of compounds are called ionic compounds because they are made from ions. In an ionic compound, the metal gives its electron to the nonmetal, making the metal positively charged and the nonmetal negatively charged. On the other hand, covalent compounds are made from one or more nonmetals. Since nonmetals do not readily give up electrons, if you are making compounds from nonmetals only, then neither of the elements in the compound are going to gain an electron, and neither is going to lose an electron. So in covalent compounds, the electrons are shared. Let's practice this concept by categorizing these compounds as either ionic or covalent. The only thing we need to do is to decide whether both atoms involved in the compound are metals, both atoms are nonmetals, or whether one atom is a metal and one atom is a nonmetal. A compound made by a metal and a nonmetal will be categorized as ionic, and a compound with only nonmetals will be categorized as covalent. Let's start by looking at HCl. Remember, if you look at your periodic table, that both hydrogen and chlorine are nonmetals. Since this is a compound made with only nonmetals, we will categorize it as covalent. If we look at, on the other hand, sodium chloride, sodium is a metal, chlorine is a nonmetal, and therefore sodium chloride is ionic. We can continue with potassium bromide, which is made up of potassium, which is a metal, and bromine, which is a nonmetal, making this an ionic compound. Calcium sulfide is made up of calcium, which is a metal in group 2, and sulfur, which is a nonmetal, and therefore a metal plus a nonmetal makes an ionic compound. If we look at H2O, so 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, both hydrogen and oxygen are nonmetals. Since this is a compound made up of only nonmetals, this is covalent. Finally, SCN is made up of sulfur, carbon, and nitrogen, all of which are nonmetals, and since every atom in this compound is a nonmetal, this is also categorized as covalent.